All right, everybody, this is Wednesday. It is NTI day 30, so you should have multiplication practice looking like this that you are working on. Remember, there are 60 problems. They are, this page in particular is vertical in orientation. They are stacked on top of each other. Doesn't make a difference on how they're solved, it's just how it looks. Just quickly, I'm going to go over what the expectations were for this assignment. So you are setting a timer for 5 to 6 minutes, and you're going to go through and answer as many problems as you possibly can. To do that, you're going to skip over problems that you aren't sure of or that are going to take you a little while to answer. So I just did a quick example of this. I went through and I knew that any single digit times 11 was doubled, so I wrote 99. Anything times 10 is just that number with a 0, so that was 120. 7 times 4, I wasn't sure. There wasn't a trick to work with my 7s, so I skipped it. But I knew that anything times 1 is that number, so I did 3 and 8, and then I can count by 2s pretty well, so I did 4. So let's just pretend that in my 5 to 6 minutes, I only answered 5 problems, which you all should be able to do much more than that. But just for the sake of time, let's say I only answered 5. I'm going to go back and check those numbers. Once my timer goes off, I'm going to use a calculator or multiplication chart, check my answers. However many I got correct in those 5 minutes is the number that's going to go up top in the right-hand corner. So I got 5 correct in 5 to 6 minutes. Once you do that, you can then take a calculator or multiplication chart and go back through and answer all the other problems just so that you guys have that extra practice and repetition. It'll really help you to memorize these facts. So that's the expectation for the assignment. Here are the multiplication strategies that I shared last week. I'm just going to quickly remind you of those. So anything times 0 is 0. Remember, when we're doing multiplication, it is equal groups. So this is making 4 groups of 0. So if I have 0 in all of my groups, then obviously I have nothing there. So any number times 0 is 0, no matter how big or how small. Okay, any number times 1 is that number. So again, we're making those equal groups. So this is 4 equal groups of 1. So I had 4 circles, and each circle had 1 in it. So if I add those up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 times 1 is 4. Any number times 1 is that number. All right, times 2. Any number times 2 is the same as that number plus itself. So remember that multiplication is just repeated addition. It's saying that I'm going to take 4 and I'm going to add it to itself 2 times. Or, since they are commutative properties, we can flip-flop them back and forth. I can say that I'm going to take 2 and add it to itself 4 times. So I could do 4 plus 4 or 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Again, just making those equal groups, repeatedly adding them. It's the same as multiplying. So anything times 2, you're just adding it to itself. We're doubling that. 4 times 2, same as 4 plus 4. All right, times 3. Any number times 3 is going to be the same as that number times 2 plus itself. So if you can add that number, like 4 plus 4 equals 8, and then you add 4 more, you know that 4 times 3 equals 12. And that's an easy way to think about it. Okay, times 4. Any number times 4 is the same as that number plus itself. You do that twice and add it together. So for example, if I wanted to solve 4 times 4, I know that 4 plus 4 is 8. If I do that twice, 8 plus 8 is 16. So 4 times 4 is 16. So if you know your 2's, you can do your 4's. If you know your 2's, you can do your 3's. They all kind of build on top of each other. All right, times 5. We've been working on counting on by 5 since elementary school. You guys are pretty good at that. Everybody has a pretty firm foundation on how to skip count by 5s. So if I'm looking at 4 times 5, that's saying that I'm going to count by 5s 4 times. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Again, making 4 equal groups of 5. All right, multiplying by 6. Any number times 6 is that number times 5 plus itself. So again, if you know your 5s, you can do your 6s. All right, those really work closely together. So 4 times 6, if I know that 4 times 5 is 20, then I can add 4 more and that equals 24. All right, I don't have a fancy trick for 7s and 8s, so that's why I did this little example down here. Remember in the beginning, I shared with you all this strategy of breaking down these numbers into smaller parts. So like if I do a 4 times 7, I know that 7 can be broken down into 5 plus 2. So I can do 4 times 5, which is 20, and then 4 times 2, which is 8. Add them together, and that equals 28. 4 times 7 is 28. If I'm doing my 8s, I can do the same thing. So 4 times 8, I know that 8 can be broken down into 5 plus 3. 4 times 5 is 20. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Remember, if you know your 2s, then you know that 4 times 2 is 8. You add 4 more and you get 12. And that equals 32 when we add it all together. So for your 7s and 8s, you can use this strategy. Those would be ones that I would definitely, if you don't know them off the top of your head, you don't have them memorized, go back to those later so that you can then show your work and work them out to figure it out. All right, on your 9s. So we have a couple different tricks here. You have your finger trick where you put both hands out in front of you and you count over. So the example that I did was 4 times 9. So that means that I'm going to count over to my 4th finger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that 4th finger goes down. So I have 1, 2, 3 fingers in front, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 behind it. So my answer would be 36. The other way to think about it, pretty cool trick, is that if you're doing 4 times 9, the first step is you're going to take your 4 and subtract 1. So that equals a 3. And then step 2, you have 3 plus 6 equals 9. So this number right here, you fill it in with whatever you need to add to this number to equal 9. So 3 and a 6, if I put them together, that's 36. All right. Any number times 10. That's a pretty easy one. Anything times 10, you're just going to add a 0. Any whole number times 10, you add a 0. So 4 times 10 is 40. 12 times 10 is 120. Pretty easy. Also, you guys can count by tens. All right, so like 6 times 10, that means I'm going to count by tens 6 times. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. All right, and times 11. So 11s are easy ones to remember. Any single digit times 11 is just that number written 2 times. So 4 is a single digit. 4 times 11 would be 44. 6 times 11 is 66. 9 times 11 is 99. Okay, if I had 10 times 11, that's just going to be 11 with a 0 written after it. But when we get to 11 times 11 and 12 times 11, those two are not single digits, and there's not a fancy rule that applies, so you really just have to memorize those two. That's why I wrote them down there in a different color and starred them. I still struggle with those. Sometimes I really have to think about them. So 11 times 11 is 121, and 12 times 11 is 132. For your 12s, just work to remember those. You can use that strategy that I talked about up here where we break them down. So I'll do an example of that for you guys real quickly. Let's say I wanted to do 4 times 12. So I can break 12 down into 10 plus 2. And I know that 4 times 10 is 40. And 4 times 2 is 8. So if I add those together, that is 48. Okay, so that's anything times 12. It's a strategy that you can use. Okay. All right, I'm going to back up and let you guys see this whole board, see the big picture just for a few seconds. Again, if you wanted to screenshot or take any notes, it is there for you. This is the last multiplication assignment that you all have for the year. So you should be able to see a lot of growth between today's assignment and then maybe the beginning one that you ever did. Hopefully you guys feel that this time has been productive and that you have gotten better at your multiplication facts. I sure hope so. I'll be testing you the first day of school next year. Just to see how we've done. So keep up the practice. If you've got those flashcards and stuff still, keep working over the summer. Don't let this be something that slips away from you. Remember, I will be posting one more video tomorrow to walk you guys through the last set of word problems. And then your NTI work is done, as long as you've kept up with everything. So next week is iReady. Be sure that you have access to a computer, or if you have an iPad, you can download the iReady app. And if you don't remember your username and password, please let somebody know so that we can get that information to you. I'll have more updates, more videos about iReady later in the week. So, anyways, happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well, and we'll see you soon. Bye.